Alert.
Emergency pod.
Emergency pod. Well, it's not an emergency.
Conveniently scheduled at the same time we always record, but this is an emergency pod.
I got the text and I was like, is it going to be any different? Like, are we going to have like some sound effects? Like,
yes,
Bobby,
Chad.
hit the...
We've got things to discuss. Let me take it away from here, if I may. I've got a post-it note.
Should I fight him on
Honestly,
live
yeah.
television?
Bobby, don't forget you're on camera. I can splice this into the video at any point here.
She's laughing at my face.
We have some heartbreaking news that happened today. This is Monday, April 28th. April 28th, 2025. Grand Canyon University announced the cutting, or to quote Grand Canyon's press release,
the lack of sponsorship. The re-sponsorship.
The re-sponsoring of the men's volleyball program from Division One.
Like they've been donating all
club.
of this. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they were already kind of on like a books only kind of deal. So they're not really losing a full scholar here. They revoked not that much.
Yeah. So Grand Canyon cutting the men's volleyball program and saying that they are moving them to club. It's not a hey, you got next year's the last year.
No, it's not a you get a farewell.
No farewell tour. No, we're not giving you time to really fight it. It is we're done.
Yeah.
Your coaches' contracts are up.
You played your last game. You're not allowed to celebrate anything. You're not allowed to do anything.
Yeah.
We are cold and we are.
Yes. So the first and foremost, obviously Ariel and I have been through this before.
Numerous times.
UOP men's volleyball. I was an alum the year after I graduated. They cut the program. Very similar sentiment. Stanford men's volleyball, same thing. Cut in 2020 to 2021. Both of those programs were given one final year to kind of play things out. This is a different scenario there, but a blind side to the whole staff, to all the players, which sounds like for Grand Canyon it was the same situation in terms of the announcement.
I will say that when an announcement like this happens, like I know I speak, I think for both of us on like, we've been through this twice in the sense of like hearing that Pacific got cut and hearing that Stanford got cut. It is, and I want to say it was Kathy Litsky's post today of like the people that have gone through this. It is traumatic.
Yeah.
It like brought up some real emotion of like it is heartbreaking for people. It is a horrific thing to go through as a program to watch. Like your whole life, your kids, you're telling your kids about the program that you played for. You want to be able to take your kids to those games. You want to be able to like have a legacy of like what you did, and to have a university try and erase that is a really, really difficult thing for people to go through. The people at Pacific that we watched go through it, we went through it. The people at Stanford that went through it for almost a year and didn't know if they were going to have their program. Like it's a really, really difficult thing. And so we feel very strongly about this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, number one, hearts are out for the coaches and players that are currently there. But just because we know we've gone through it, I think just talking through a little bit of the logistics and the tactics is kind of my thought process here and goal for our little conversation. But I want to start with timing, because the timing also is very, very interesting. Obviously, we just had conference championships. We've got the NCAA tournament landscape has been announced. We know the 9 teams that are in the tournament. And normally this is the peak of men's volleyball. The momentum is there. Everyone's excited. And
Grand Canyon doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, and the air has been removed from that bubble pretty quickly. Chad, let me bring you in. What's your thoughts on the timing of this announcement from Grand Canyon? Where do you think this comes from, and what's the thought process that you see from your perspective?
If I'm the AD, I probably had this thought, for a while that this is going to happen. Yeah. So that, it's probably just a Band-Aid rip, right? So from that standpoint, I understand kind of just the immediacy, but I think it's also interesting. Like, you didn't wait until after the tournament when people are like, how much are we talking about men's volleyball collegiately in, June? Not really so much. Like, they could have waited a month, waited for everybody's contract, all this kind of stuff. Obviously, like with the portal reopening, all that. But it's almost a little bit of a blessing because now people are really paying attention to this and still actively talking about the game this week, next week. So there's probably going to be more blowback or more, just voices talking than had you waited 2, 3, 4 weeks. So I think a little bit of good timing wise that may actually shed some light on this.
You're saying from a standpoint of the amount of
Coverage.
eyeballs and coverage that's going to be on men's volleyball, all of these broadcasts are going to be most likely talking.
You
about
could have dumped this into the Father's Day weekend tournament of like, oh, by the way, where's Grand Canyon? Oh, they're not here because they just got cut. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
you'd be talking about it for like a day, but then like you're not really thinking NCAA men's volley. So
Okay, I could buy that argument for sure.
I think there's
I'm
an
not saying
opportunity.
it helps, but
Well, I do think that there's an opportunity now. There's an opportunity for broadcasters. There's an opportunity for people that are going to be shedding light on men's volleyball in the next upcoming week here to talk about this and to spread some like real awareness, I guess, of like what is actually happening here
Yeah,
and how bad this is for the sport.
Oh, totally. I mean, such a I think the biggest thing, it's a momentum blow across the board. Same
Yeah.
thing was felt when Stanford announcement was made. Same thing was felt when Pacific got cut. Same thing with Cal Baptist, right? Cal Baptist being, a D2 in a smaller program, maybe less people cared about that in that eyes, but
But
when
they
you
were
have a
number
division,
5 in the country when they
right?
got cut.
Exactly. When they got cut, they were one
Yeah.
of the top. They were a top 10 program,
Yeah.
right? Grand Canyon, same thing. They
Yeah.
were a set away from going to the national championship last year.
Yeah.
Right. You've got a program that has showcased that they're one of the highest performing teams on campus at Grand Canyon, and doesn't matter, right? It's not basketball, it's not football. They don't have football, but for them and their strategy doesn't some way, shape, or form doesn't fit in. So it leads to the next question, and Ariel, maybe you have a thought here. It's what's the why? And when we sat down, when this first happened to Stanford and we got on this massive Zoom, we had almost 200 alums and Stanford men's volleyball people. The biggest question immediately is, okay, let's get to the bottom of why so that we can strategize from there. And obviously, like the announcements are all kind of vague and you don't really know.
Yeah.
But you got to get down to the real detail of why did they do this? Do you have any thoughts?
Well,
or is this just a money thing?
I mean, I think I relate this a lot more to the Pacific cutting than I do to the Stanford cutting, just because there is a conference realignment going on, and when
They're switching to Grand Canyon is switching to Mountain West.
correct, and when Pacific cut men's volleyball, it was a conference realignment shift from the Big West into the WCC,
yep.
and they were adding men's soccer.
That was a part of the deal to join WCC.
Correct.
Pacific had to add men's soccer.
And so there was a reasoning of we've decided that we're going to take from this and we're going to go into this. And I don't know if the savior effort was enough with that being the push, because there was you'd have to add a women's sport as well. And there was a lot more there.
Yep. Yeah.
So this with the conference realignment, I do think that is a uphill battle and I don't know if they're adding a different sport, if they are,
No announcement about it.
no announcement, and really no real reasoning has been given yet. Obviously, hopefully there's more of an uproar and they're able to sit down and actually get some real thought behind it. But
Fun fact, Pacific men's volleyball alums, we have a fantasy football league that's called Pacific Men's Soccer as a little bit of a joke, just to make a little bit of light in the situation. But thinking about the Grand Canyon side of things, obviously, I think most of it's going to come down to dollars. Right? That's the same. It's the same thing that was in reality. Pacific was as well. Right? It was dollars, and Stanford was for sure dollars.
Yep.
And so figuring out kind of what that path forward looks like. And just to give a little bit of an overview of kind of the tactics from the Stanford perspective of how this was processed, and obviously very different cases in every university.
yes,
But the first and foremost thing was they got together and they were trying to figure out the why, right? Why did it happen so that they could actually strategize. The kind of first piece that Stanford did was gather every single alumni that's been through the program. So they built up a database and an alumni list. And for Grand Canyon, I know Worley has some of this already, but working to get that together. And for any program out there right now, if you don't have this, do it. Like, you need to have this on hand and ready to go now. Don't wait for these types of situations. Have that alumni base, have that connection already built in place. So building out that database was the
Also,
first
can
thing.
I just add a little small tidbit in here of if I hear any Matt Worley slander through this, I will lose my mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely lose my mind.
Yeah, there was a post that went out and was that kind of brought that question of like, I wonder if Worley knew anything.
Just
there's no
grow
chance.
up.
There's no chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Worley probably it's a little bit of a vindication for his decision, but he made the decision for himself and his family with the writing on the wall that women's volleyball was going to be the right place, and he's getting paid way more to do it. Like you can't hold that against him, and to think that he knew and like didn't tell Brian or Girton what was going down.
And for somebody who had been dealing with this administration for that long and had his own with this administration, like you cannot put him and throw him under the bus through this. It's just like nobody wants this to happen for men's volleyball.
Yeah.
Like that's not there's no conspiracy theory there. I'm a big fan of a good conspiracy theory, and that is not the conspiracy theory I'm getting behind. Yeah, that's for sure.
I've got a little bit of a thought on that situation as well, but let me get through the tactics.
You just
side
said Worley's name, so I was like, see ya.
So once like all of the alumni have been gathered, and you have that database from Grand Canyon's been around for 17 years, so getting together that 17 years worth of alums' emails and phone numbers, getting them on a call. Everyone that's interested in being a part of it or interested in helping in some way, shape, or form, getting them on a call. Stanford organized and established a like leadership hierarchy within a matter of a week from the jump. Right, it was every single contact was already there. They built that out. They got the group of guys that wanted to fully like take charge, and they put them in charge of basically 5 committees.
If you had advice for how to go about deciding on that, what would you say?
For who mans it, it's a lot about who has the bandwidth, right?
Yes.
And that's part of the struggle for Grand Canyon being around 17 years. Most of your alums are going to be like your oldest alum is what 40 to 45, right? You're like Stanford. We had the full gamut of people of socioeconomic background with money and also the time. Right? They had the time to be able to put into this. So that's part of the challenge. But for those that are a part of it and willing to take on some of it is establishing, who's going to be in charge of fundraising, who's going to be in charge of the media push. That was one huge thing from the Stanford side, not just social media, but pushing local television, local newspapers, writing stories, getting the word out there from the local standpoint and putting pressure in. Right, these are people who live in those communities, and so you need the pressure from within the community to really make a big push. From there, Stanford took it to kind of step 3, which was gathering pledges. Right, they got to the point where they were able to have meetings with the university, and they said no to them the entire time. Right, everything was no chance, not coming back. But they kept pushing, and they got to the point where it was like, okay, like no, it's not coming back. It's because
we're gonna have a hearing.
It's because we don't have enough money to support the program. The university is not going to subsidize athletics anymore. That's why. Okay, great. All right, now we know. Like it's about the money. Yeah. Okay, let's get to work, right? And they gathered pledge after pledge after pledge. Yep. And what they did, which was interesting, is they set up basically every 5 years, they found a point person in that group. They were in charge of going through that list of all of the alums in their 5-year period. So if it was me at Pacific, it'd be, me 2013 to 2009. Yep. And I'm dialing to all of my friends and saying, hey, listen, here's what we're trying to do. We want to make a pledge. It's not a donation. It's not a, hey, here, Grand Canyon, here's $100,000.
Yep.
Go do with it. It's a, hey, I will pledge to you my $100,000 if men's volleyball is reinstated to its full capacity. All the scholarships, full staff, everything comes back. I will make this donation. And they got that to the point where they were able to basically endow the program, meaning that Stanford men's volleyball is fully funded by itself. They have an investment account that is fully, I think the total was just under $14 million. What was the number that was needed, right? Breaking down the budget of the program every year, how much do we need in an investment account to be able to take the dividends and the return from that investment to pay for the program in perpetuity? And that's what they got to. Yep. Pledge by pledge over and over again. And one of the biggest things that they were able to push to, and sorry, I know I'm going long-winded, but it's because I've gotten so many messages today on how they can help, And this is the easiest thing I could be able to send them, is to put this out there. The biggest two pushes, besides just the dollar amount, was the percentage total of alums that donated. Stanford got to just under 100% of every alum from the programs that were being cut. And mind you, Stanford was cutting 11 sports, not just one.
Yep.
They got every single alum to pledge to donate, right? And that's a huge amount of alumni support. And they were able to build a multi-sport push, and they were able to gather, the support of athletes from other sports within the programs, alumni from those other sports. They got all these big names from Stanford to be able to come back. Grand Canyon's a different boat. And that's part of the interesting challenge. I don't know, Chad, if I ever told you the story of the Pacific side of things, but there was a two-pronged approach with Pacific. One was trying to go directly through Pacific, but the second prong was also basically reaching out to other universities. And Bobby's former school, Santa Clara University, was one of the routes that we tried to go through, was to basically transplant Pacific men's volleyball to Santa Clara.
Another one.
What do you guys think about that idea of trying to leverage connection within
ASU,
the greater Phoenix
University
area?
of Arizona.
U of A, yeah.
And I mean, I think it's a great idea. U of A is not in the best financial.
U of A's got its own financial
situations,
woes
but-
going on.
All right, scrap it. University of Phoenix.
Yeah, that's where.
UOP is back.
Yeah.
Yes. Classic Phoenix maneuver right
Funny
there.
enough, the Grand Canyon president was the former president of University of Phoenix.
yeah.
So
Full circle.
Yeah.
We're full circle here.
I mean, it's obviously a good way to pit it against each other of like, we're going to just take it here. And I mean, I think that you just have to knock down every door here.
yeah, I think you gotta go through multi-prong for sure. But that's one of the things, and it comes back to Worley, is the thing that Stanford also had going for it was they had Cossey. And this is a big credit to Cossey. Cossey's been a Stanford lifer pretty much, right? He's been there for decades. He wasn't going anywhere without a fight.
Yeah.
Right? For Worley, and it's no fault of Worley's, right? He made a switch and moved on to the next position, but to expect Girton and Brian to take up that fight when their contracts are going to be done, right? They're on 1-year contracts. Those contracts are up in maybe a month.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're not going to fight for this without
they
a
can't.
job. Yeah,
they have to.
And so that's where the real challenge comes in, is you've got who's going to head this, who's going to take the charge and push for Grand Canyon or push for another university. And from the Pacific standpoint, it came very much from the parents of current players and parents of recruits, right? If basically every single athlete at Pacific would have stayed and gone to Santa Clara University if we were able to make it happen. But the biggest thing that they needed was they needed Title IX. They needed to add another women's sport, which Pacific actually got close to finding the funding for them to add both, but it fell short at the end. So long-winded, but those are the routes and the things that we've gone through between the two programs. There is a path, right? It's a Hail Mary, to directly quote some of the guys from the Save Stanford program. It's a Hail Mary of a pass, but it's not impossible. It's just a long-term game. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and you got to have people who are boots on the ground,
people in the community in Phoenix need to be the ones that are trying to lead the charge, the club directors and the people that are, their jobs don't depend on, like, getting paid doesn't depend on this program. My advice would be for those people to really try and get
and
involved.
And they are. I've gotten a number of DMs.
Yeah.
I know Troy from AZ Fears working his ass off on this stuff, and like you're right. When it comes
was us when Stanford happened, of like the school right next to you, I knew how many kids that we had that were coming up that were high academic kids. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, these kids are going to lose the opportunity to potentially be able to go there. And so,
well, also just something to be able to point to, right?
Yeah.
Like, here's the pinnacle of the sport, and you take. That's why, like, Arizona is such a good example. It's such a microcosm, just like NorCal, where you have this up and coming sport. You've got so many explosion of growth, so many athletes, right? And when you have something to point to, you see Grand Canyon, but you also see UCLA come to town. You see Stanford come to town. You see USC. You see all these big name schools, and you're like, oh, this is real. There's something I can see in my backyard. That is such a big deal. And for us, when Stanford was being cut, that was one of the biggest things in my mind is, holy
These
shit.
kids don't have
Like
this anymore.
our pipeline doesn't get to see that anymore if this goes away. And that is such a horrible thing. And NorCal's been lucky because now we have Menlo. We've got growth that is happening to a certain degree. And you want the same thing for a place like Arizona that has produced some fantastic talent in the past number of years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know there's a lot there, obviously, and a lot to come, most likely. But any closing thoughts on this topic?
I think Hawaii pays for it.
Oh, great idea.
Finn Kearney's been siding out like a champ.
Right?
Okay, we're moving on. Enough of that. Let's get on to something better. Men's National Championship. We are ready. We are ready for the. This is the pinnacle. This is it. This is what it all. This is what we play for.
Sure.
Conference tournaments are complete.
How
At large
were
bids.
our predictions? Were our predictions bad?
I don't know.
I had
Our
money.
predictions weren't good.
I had money on Irvine.
I had money on
Shoulda-
Long Beach.
I think
And I
Right.
also had money on UCLA or USC. I think I said USC, actually.
I don't know.
it was a good year to host the conference tournament, except
Yeah.
for Princeton.
Good for Penn. Let's start with the EIVA.
Sure, let's start there. We got
Good
conference
for
tournaments.
Penn State.
Penn State just
Playing
pulling an
chess.
absolute Penn State move.
Yeah.
Just getting their teeth
peak
kicked
at
in.
the right time.
Getting their teeth kicked in all season just to peak right at the EIVA tournament.
We literally just had this conversation, and I just think it's BS. It's like, just get rid of these conference tournaments.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the whole season doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Yep.
it doesn't.
Like, especially if you're in the EIVA or the MIVA or whatever, like where it's like a little bit lower level within your conference.
Or
Yeah.
you're letting everybody matter at the end.
Sure.
I will say, there's
I
a
thought
degree
you were
here.
like Penn State got all those L's because they were trying to make everybody else feel like they mattered.
Yeah, but like
And
they
then
got
just-
better so that they could be good at the end.
Yeah, but like, why couldn't you just like be better during?
Because they needed time to get better.
I don't think that's not a real thing.
Could be real.
I don't know. But I will say this. The NBSF tournament, there was definitely a degree where how you played during the regular season, your path was progressively easier. Like Stanford, if Stanford would have won, they would have needed to win 4 matches in a row
On 4 days.
nights.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's such
a joke.
That's such an
That's a
impossible
joke.
task. But Pepperdine had to win 3 in a row.
God, thank God that BYU is still rated, higher than them in some poll that we won't mention.
Yeah.
Like, it's unbelievable. God. They didn't beat anybody.
Idiots.
They beat nobody. How are they the 7? I don't get it.
That's because they
Sorry.
weren't at home. They weren't at home. That's why. Yeah. So, I mean, the conference tournament, they're all finished. So we know who's in there. Pep wins. Hawaii wins. All right, great. Do we think we should remove conference tournaments, or do you like the Cinderella story at the end?
I love the Cinderella story. I just am so sick of a 8-7 team national championship.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
the
all-
problem with the sport.
All of this is fixed if there's a 16 team.
Yeah,
bracket.
like it's a conference tournament. Great. Like I don't really care. You may.
Princeton doesn't get in,
yeah, you're
right?
Princeton
Right.
doesn't get in,
They
but-
need to win that one. Like,
But yeah, so for the EIVA, okay, that's a different game. But for everyone else, right? Like the fact that USC,
CSUN deserves to be the Cinderella story of the tournament.
the fact that USC and UC Irvine are not in the tournament is a shame.
Yeah, that's insane.
it's ridiculous.
I agree. Like
And
CSUN should be in
Henno
it.
was about to break the record for aces.
Yeah,
And he tied it, and now it's over.
yeah. No, he's tied. But yeah, you give me.
Oh, sad.
You get top 16 in there, and you get these conferences that get their auto bids. Okay, no problem. But then you get in. All right, McKendree loses, but there's still that in a top 16. Boom. You got McKendree in the tournament now.
Great.
You got CSUN. Obviously, you got USC. Obviously, you got Irvine. Does a Stanford just squeak in there?
Probably.
Does a BYU?
Because it's our
who-
podcast, and we decided that
Yeah,
they
we
did.
decided that they do. You
Yeah.
know
Well,
what?
because you're going to have how many teams like outside of the actual top 16,
Yeah.
right? 4, 5, maybe.
Yeah, you got Fort Valley State. You got
1,
Damon. You got
2,
Penn State and Belmont Abbey.
3, 4. Okay,
Yeah.
4.
Fort Valley State makes me think of Blue Mountain State every single time I hear that.
I don't think it's where they filmed that.
Might be. Where's Fort Valley State?
You're right. I don't know.
You put some respect on Fort Valley's name. All right. They're gonna take Long Beach State
Classic state school matchup.
Out to breakfast
to
the next morning.
dinner. Yeah. After getting their teeth kicked in.
I was going to say something more vulgar, but okay.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, obviously, expansion fixes all those problems, but as we just saw with the first segment on this show today, it is hard to think about expansion when so much of men's volleyball is in a threat right now. right? Like
Yeah.
this is we can't think that Grand Canyon is going to be an isolated incident, right? And so to think about the expansion of the tournament without thinking about where the state of men's volleyball is currently at is a disservice.
There are other sports that are struggling like this too, though. Like,
all Olympic
yes,
sports are
like,
going to, depending on how this settlement goes down, all
Yeah.
Olympic sports have to be on
it's
edge.
It's ridiculous. Like, it's just the system here.
All right, we've seen, obviously we know the layout of the teams. We saw Hawaii wins the Big West. We saw that Pepperdine wins the MPSF, Loyola won the MIVA, and Penn State won the EVA. We got Belmont Abbey. We got Fort Valley State out of the SIAC. We got Damon out of the NEC, first year that they get an auto bid. Belmont Abbey coming out of the Conference Carolinas. Seeing all that, do you believe that Long Beach State and UCLA are the correct at-larges? Do you think Irvine or USC had a leg to stand on in the at-large department?
I support Long Beach getting in.
Well, yeah,
Obviously.
I think we all are going to agree with that. So let's get it. Yeah, let's get it down to UCLA. Is UCLA the right pick?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's tough. Like Irvine, really no bad losses except for San Diego, but like not that bad of a loss.
Mm-hmm.
UCLA had a few of them, and that's kind of that side of the argument.
It's
and
all
then
about the head-to-head.
and then that's the head-to-head, right?
Yep.
Like
2-0.
Irvine needed to split with UCLA or beat Hawaii in Hawaii one of those 3 times.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, it's a hard.
Yeah. It's hard to make the case against it, right?
Yeah, especially I mean if you're looking at it from the committee side, like I get like Irvine, whoever is on the thing, but like it's also just like eye test. Like, wait, this team has lost a couple times to these guys.
Yeah.
Okay, bye. Sorry.
All right, now let me just for
I
funsies,
liked Irvine in over UCLA.
what would have been your rationale?
Irvine's post campaign.
Number 1 strength schedule.
Yep.
I did love Niff's sentiment on his press conference.
Yep.
Scheduling's a choice, right? You choose to schedule tough or you choose to schedule easy, and you should be rewarded for scheduling tough, not the other way around.
But that being said, they did need to win a game or two that they did. Like, it was very, very close. Yeah, I go Irvine.
I mean, they got screwed like this a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I'm sick of them getting
and
screwed.
I got a conspiracy I'll come back to in a minute. I know. I've been holding it.
Everyone get your tinfoil hats ready.
No, I forgot what I was going to say. What was I going to say?
You have a conspiracy.
Oh,
That's all that matters.
we'll cut to that. All right. Did Long Beach and Hawks, did they throw it because they don't like Niff?
Oh, I love that.
They didn't want Irvine in there. They didn't want to deal with them.
I love that.
Hey,
I'm just saying. No, okay. So what I was gonna say with them, but like before, right? Like
Everyone's like, nah, no.
probably not. But like Niff has been in this situation before, and maybe my thought is like, okay, he got shafted a couple of years ago, and they come back to him and be like, hey man, like, you know, you guys had all these wins, but maybe you just didn't schedule tough enough, kind of thing. And like he's like, all right, F that. Like we're gonna schedule crazy.
I think he's scheduled tougher than anyone in the past 3 years.
Yeah, for sure. Right?
He travels anywhere.
Yeah. And this is probably a reflection of them not getting in the other time, and like him responding with what he thought they would need to see, and maybe they need one more win.
Yeah.
But you know,
Well, I mean, here's the all right. Let's play this game, man. Okay, let's say Pepperdine doesn't play spoiler and UCLA wins the MPSF. Is Irvine in, or is it USC?
I think it's Irvine.
I think it's Irvine too.
I think it's Irvine as well, right? I think that eye test as well is just clear as day. Yeah. So that's the other part. It's like in reality, yeah, they just got screwed. It's a series of unfortunate events where this is the way it shakes out. But you can't.
Other head coaches conspired against them.
Yeah.
It's
How about
definitely
this
one
one?
of those.
How about this one? Because they're so much better. They have to play back to back to back to back. Belmont Abbey, Damon, and Fort Valley State. And if they beat all of them, then they're in.
Oh, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my.
Look, they're going to split their team in half. They're going to scrimmage first.
Yeah.
The 10 versus 11, and the winning side gets to play Damon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did the Bees end up in the finals? We don't know.
Cameron Gossi had himself a heck of a match
That's
against
what I'm
Fort Valley
saying.
State.
Wasted a red shirt on that. That's crazy.
Oh man, Akil Tangator came back for his
It's
6th year.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Pulling
well,
from the alumni game.
Yeah.
make a mistake, you're out.
All right, let's get down to our predictions here. We who we got? Who we got in the finals? Let's just go. Let's make the prediction of who we have into the finals, the national championship. You got Long Beach State on the side with Loyola and Pep. You got Hawaii on the side with UCLA, and most likely, honestly, I could see Damon beating Penn State. You could totally see it. You got UCLA, Hawaii most likely meeting in the Final Four, and Long Beach versus Pep or Loyola in the Final Four is the most likely look. So who you got in the finals? Chad, want to start us off?
Long Beach over UCLA.
Long Beach over UCLA. Okay, you're going UCLA over Hawaii on the neutral site in Columbus.
Yeah, a couple getting 3-0'd by Northridge, getting 3-0'd by Santa Barbara
On the road.
Yeah. I got to see them win something big,
On
not in the
not in
stand,
home. Yeah, I agree.
because it's an advantage.
Yeah,
It's a
100%.
tangible advantage.
I'm a big fan of Hawaii, but
Wait, I've heard a rumor about that.
what?
That you love Hawaii.
I know. That's what I
I
heard
don't
too.
know where that
Internet's
started.
been buzzing this week about
That's
how much I love
unbelievable.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I just think that
Your love for Hawaii will just power them through, or
Maybe.
what? Okay, is that
and if they win, it's just because of me.
great?
I'm gonna go UCLA Long Beach.
Okay.
What are you?
I will be the contrarian.
Ew.
I think Hawaii is going to steal one here.
Oh, that's nice.
I think Hawaii is going to beat Long Beach State for the 3rd time
Wow.
at Ohio State for the national championship. I
Why?
think
You're just
because
trying
they're
to get the people to like you.
no, I could care less if Hawaii likes me. It's here's the reason why. They're the healthiest in my eyes.
Okay.
Now they're missing Tutrinsky, if I'm saying his name right. They're missing him, but Finn Kearney has played fantastic
Yeah,
in
I
his
agree with
stead.
that.
And he's doing it for Grand Canyon at this
and he's
point.
doing it for
Yeah,
Arizona.
Arizona.
He's doing it for the
Good.
Warriors.
Arizona's
Every
back
kill
right
he
now.
gets, I heard he's donating 10
Lumps up,
grand.
yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I love that. Still picking UCLA, but yeah.
Yeah. So I got Hawaii peaking at the right time. They look number one, they're healthy, and number
do
two,
look good.
they look great. That
Yeah,
win
they do
over
look
Long
good.
Beach, they look great. UCLA against Pepperdine should have probably gotten Pepperdine, but they crumbled on a few different very important points. Now, obviously, I think the tournament brings out a whole new level in teams. I think UCLA has shown they have a low floor and a high ceiling, but they've been trending in the right direction.
So does Hawaii.
so-
Hawaii has a low floor, high ceiling too.
Who did I say? That's what I
You
meant.
said
to say.
UCLA.
Oh, sorry, I meant Hawaii. Hawaii has a low floor and a
yeah.
high ceiling.
Yeah.
I think UCLA's floor is lower than Hawaii's, but they still have a up and down season thus far.
Yeah, when they're bad, they're pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say Long Beach State has the lowest of the floors and the highest of the ceilings.
Highest floor.
Yeah.
Highest
Sorry.
floor.
Thank you. God,
Highest
words
ceiling.
are hard.
I was like, that's wrong. They
Sorry,
do
Bobby.
not have the lowest floor.
Bobby's laughing at me over there. Yeah. All right. Wait, thank you for correcting me. Long Beach has the highest floor and the highest ceiling.
Check.
Check.
But Hawaii's highest ceiling is higher than Long Beach's lowest floor. So as they've demonstrated,
Yes.
they can beat them.
Yes.
No, not at all. Long Beach's pyramid is way taller than the top of the stand. That's just
true.
get out of here with your ceiling jokes.
There we go.
Ruined
Yeah.
that segue for you. Sorry.
Who do you have?
And hard pivot.
No. How about this? Who do you have in the Pepperdine Loyola game?
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
That's the game of the round. the
Yeah,
first round.
that's definitely the most
That's an
compelling.
interesting game.
It's a lot of big guys in that one, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean,
That's
they've played once this year.
Yeah.
Loyola beat Pepperdine at Pepperdine.
Loyola
I think-
beat Pepperdine at yes,
Pepperdine.
yeah, they did.
Yeah. I mean, both teams streaking. They're streaking into the tournament and on and up. I think Parker is the most
I'm gonna
dynamic
take Loyola. They've played at.
at
Cavelli
the
before.
Cavelli Center. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
they're
take
familiar.
Loyola.
They're in their time zone for sure.
Yeah.
I think Pepperdine flying out there, they're going to be, I mean, They're going to be out there early. They'll be
And
adjusted.
I do have to give Pepperdine a shout out a little bit. Pepperdine started their season in a tough way with the fires there.
Yeah.
Pepperdine started their season like not in
Yeah,
school.
canceling games.
And canceling games. And so good for Pepperdine with like that whole thing going on.
I was down at Pepperdine this past week for the first 2 rounds of the MPSF playoff. And man, I love it there. It was a ton of fun. I will say this, like Firestone Fieldhouse is a tough place to host.
That is a high school gym.
The amount of balls that were like clearly going out of bounds,
It's like,
but guys were able to run it down because it hits a light and bounces back. It did make it very entertaining. But I really do enjoy how the Pepperdine staff has gotten their team going. Like culture wise, Pollock is one of my favorites. He is giving so much credit away. That team, I made a post about it earlier in the year, but like their floor wipers, they're just grinders.
That was one of the first time I had seen them like, working a non-Pepperdine match, man. And I was like, oh, they go hard. They were in the paint always.
Postseason form, dialed in, right? But that it starts from the program, and they are so bought in to the program, and the alumni are so bought in. there's so many alums that were there for it. I was like, this is a really good
vibe,
like, literal beacon on the hill for men's volleyball of what a program can look like. And so that was a very cool factor. The other thing that I really love too is Winder's got his kids there, all the kids in the neighborhood, they live on campus, so all of the like professors' kids and other coaches' kids are all around the same age.
They've got a cult of kids
they're just
up there.
They're in the second
awesome.
deck where it's empty, and the kids are just sprinting back and forth. I was like, it's daddy daycare up there. It's so funny.
It is pretty funny.
So yeah, it was a very cool setup and vibe, and obviously they rode the wave of momentum, and they were at home, and their student section came out to support. They rode the wave of Pepperdine. So yeah, I'll take Pepperdine because I have recency bias and think that they are doing a good job.
Chad,
I've been more impressed lately with Pepperdine. I think they're kind of finding their stride.
They're hot right now.
Yeah. So is Loyola though. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I think Ohio State was just bad.
No, dude. Loyola got their teeth kicked in by Lewis twice this year, and then they just mopped the floor with Lewis in the playoffs. They were ready to play.
I didn't see that game. I saw them beat Ohio State handily.
Yeah, they mopped the floor with both of them.
It was like 25-10 in the first.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree. That's the most compelling matchup for sure of that quote unquote second round, I guess. All right, to close it off, the last thing we've
got
today.
Another docket item.
We have one more docket item. Today, the U19 team was announced.
Oh.
Ariel has 4 athletes from her 18-1s team
about this. Cool.
Named to the U19, so shout out to some fantastic coaching. Yeah, that was number 1. But it did bring me to the next point as well of we're thinking about
horrible day for USA Volleyball to announce the U19 team.
Yeah,
was that your thought? Because that was mine.
A little tough. Probably could have waited till tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow.
But it does bring up a good point of as we look to the summer, USA is already automatically qualified for LA 2028. So how do they approach the VNL? So
National team predictions.
I would love to hear. Here's what I'd like to get because it's easy. Like this is gonna be a big roster. It's gonna be like 30 guys. Which current collegiate players do you guys think are going to get named onto this training team to go and compete? Assuming that a lot of the old guys are taking this year off.
I'm going to say that the old guys are taking the year off to like go be in caves blind for a week and,
pull a Taylor Averill.
Yeah, like they need some time to find themselves.
Yeah. Find yourself.
So the young guns are going to have to like step on up in the VNL. Who are the potentials?
Let's go position by position. You ready? Outside hitters. Let's start there. I think that's the easiest starting point.
Top outsides in the country are that are American.
Yeah.
That's a kicker.
If Moni wants to transition to a USA origin story, we could probably make that happen for him. I know a guy.
Okay, so we got Rama
Robinson.
Yep.
I think those two right off the bat for UCLA.
Dylan, Finn.
Dylan Klein would make sense if he's healthy. If he's healthy, he's got some injury stuff he might want to deal with. Finn's interesting. Cole Harkey from Pepperdine, but more on the right side.
Yeah.
Big boy.
Yeah, him, Parker on the right.
Cole Harkey's young, yeah.
He's a freshman. He's 18.
Good for him.
Middle blockers. Does Cameron Thorne get the nod? Does he get a chance to showcase?
Do you think Cameron Thorne's the best middle in the country?
I think he's one of the best middles in the country.
Just asking.
Yeah.
I could see him getting a chance.
Yeah. Parker Tompkinson.
Yeah, some of these big guys.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Is Wes? Is he healthy?
If he's
Wes
healthy,
is
I could.
The right now.
He's not. He hasn't played all year for USC.
Yeah.
But if he was healthy, I would see him as another guy that you'd want in that group for sure. Big body, physical. You need some of that, especially when
maybe Ben Patch makes a return.
ooh, the return of Benjamin.
What?
In the middle?
In the middle.
Just moshing 2 balls.
I've seen him hit a couple 2 balls.
Karch is a genius.
Yeah.
It's old
we
school.
we just
quicks.
talk about the 18-year-olds and Ben Patch.
Yeah. Yeah.
He could do it. He could do it for sure.
Yeah.
Any other predictions? Libs?
Libs. Who's your top lib?
Merck, probably.
Merck.
Yeah.
Recency bias.
We're being so suspect.
Recency bias. One of my favorite. All right, my favorite libs. I named them my top NCAA libs. Was Eloy. How do I say his name? Choi from Hawaii. I'm not going to try and butcher it. Choi from Hawaii. That was my one.
Sure.
2 was Rowan David Alvear.
RDA.
RDA.
Shout out.
Why did
Shout
we
out,
never
that's
call him RDA? RDA.
Rowan David Alvear from Princeton. He's a Beta Bay boy, so that's a homerism. I really liked Dykstra from USC. He was awesome to watch all year.
Shocking that he's not related to the other Dykstra.
I think he actually is.
I don't think he is.
I read his bio. Brad was wrong. Brad, you were wrong. He's literally like the cousin of
They're all-
Dykstra.
Brad, you're
they're
an
all cousins.
idiot.
Yeah, he said that, and I went
How
and read the
many
bio
things
immediately.
has Brad been wrong about this year?
Plenty,
Most of them.
plenty things. But USC versus Pepperdine in the finals. Mr. I believe it's Riley.
Is that the libero from Pepperdine?
Pepperdine libero.
Jacob Riley.
Riley. There you go.
Former Concordia Golden
Concordia Golden Eagle. Exactly.
Ah.
The dude he's pretty nails.
Yeah.
He's pretty nails. And got a great mustache. So I also really
I was
appreciate
gonna
Related
give
to
you this,
related to JP Riley?
Probably not, because
Oh,
I think
okay.
Jacob Riley's from Texas and
Oh.
JP is from Manhattan Beach.
Tough.
But yeah, he was a baller. And then Merck, just such a tough year, like for Penn State, but they're in the tournament, so
You know, he was just working all year getting better.
Yeah.
He wasn't ready.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you've learned something this podcast, Chad.
No, that's bullshit. He's had that mullet all year.
Are we missing any setters?
Rowan.
Andrew Rowan,
And probably
tread,
Tread.
tall tread,
Tall Tread.
Tall tread.
tall tread.
That would make sense.
Not another setter, probably.
Tread and Rowan for sure.
I mean, they'll
That
have,
makes sense.
Yeah, but they'll start with what, like 8 guys or something like that. and,
That's
like,
a
whittle
lot
it
of
down.
college guys that we're talking
Yeah.
about here.
Yeah.
I mean, on that.
Wait,
thir-
you're gonna
on-
have
on
you're
the
gonna have
thir-
Micah. You're
on
gonna
the
have
30 man. Yeah, I mean,
You're gonna have Micah. You're gonna have Quinn
Well,
Isaacson.
Yeah, well, you don't know who of the group is going
Yeah.
to be taking
like,
some
yeah.
time and who is going to be.
I'm just assuming like Micah Christensen doesn't,
Honestly-
but Micah Ma'a probably does. The guys that are like that were the fringe.
yeah, sure.
Like Jendrick is probably playing this.
Yeah. They're
Right,
just
didn't make
they're
the
the
roster.
babysitters. They're like, you've been here, you gotta raise
Yeah.
the children.
I wouldn't call them the babysitters. I'd call them
Nannies.
I'd call them the bridge.
The nannies.
Right. You've got the
Same
bridge
thing.
guys.
Yeah.
You've got all the older guys that were on the Olympic roster. They're not coming
Au
back
pairs.
to play. Au
Yes.
pairs. The
Tread
fancy
is the
fancy
au pair.
babysitter. Yeah, but it should be interesting. Just 'cause I think strategy wise, they can just play a bunch of young dudes, and
Yeah.
they're probably gonna get cooked pretty quickly in the VNL
For sure.
Maybe
Maybe.
not.
I mean, a lot of other countries will do something similar.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you're not going to qualify in the first year,
Right. You don't qualify.
So there's you're just testing out.
So we're gonna get there
for fun.
Yeah,
But
well,
this
and for a lot of the guys, right? Like I heard like Nishida's like trying to take time off and whatnot. Like, guys gonna be on the team, rest, take a summer for once.
Yeah.
You're gonna rest, this
especially
would be
the year
one.
after the Olympics.
Yeah, man. So,
But like for the Jordan Ewerts and the Pat Gassmans of the world for like USA, like this is their time to, hey, we get to go be in this international stage and show out and hopefully kind of prove I deserve to be in that true conversation when all of the big names come back as well. And you're really making choices for, I think it's a trust building year, right? Like when it comes down to it, coaches play the people they trust. And so this is an opportunity for younger guys to build trust with Karch and a new staff to be able to get in there. So a lot of those, what I would say, bridge guys, they're not old and on the end of their career and they're not super young or fresh out of college. This is a great opportunity for them to showcase what they could do. So I'm interested to see what they do with the roster, but I'm going to guess that it's going to go pretty young, pretty quick, and give a lot of those guys shots to be seen.
But hey, what do we know?
We're just a podcast.
We're just a bunch of friends on a couch, hanging out.
that is all we are.
Eating Reese's. Chad likes black licorice. Can we talk about that for a second?
No, actually, I just reported him to the police for insanity.
Black licorice.
There's a blue dot on your house because of that mustache. So do what you will.
All right, that's twice you've used that joke, right?
Exactly.
Once was enough.
Too late.
Well-
Bobby, you got anything for us? Nope. Oh, okay. Well,
And scene.
thank you guys all. Thank you guys all so much for listening to the coaches group chat. Please,
Save Grand
think
Canyon
and
men's
pray.
volleyball.
Think and pray about Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Because they have decided to stop thinking and praying for them. So let's think about.
Have we talked about what Jesus would think about what they're
Jesus
doing
would
right
be so sad.
Thoughts, prayers, and money.
Thoughts, prayers, and money.
But like not
For
in that
Grand
order.
Canyon.
Like they need one of those more than the others.
Yeah.
Pledges are great. Yeah, stay on the lookout. And if you are a fan of another men's volleyball program, make sure you are in tune with that alumni base. And let's rally people. This is men's volleyball needs
Let's
some.
sell out a Stanford game. Raise some money for Grand Canyon. I don't know.
That's an interesting segue. On that note, emergency podcast complete.
My
Lopes
sound
up.
effects are really funny.